Let's talk about Dynasty running back rankings. I'm going to give you my top 24 rankings here, tiered at the running back position. Now, everybody ranks differently, okay? You've got to somehow create a value for these players by taking the production, the age, and the contract situation into account. Now, rankings are very subjective. Some people do value the current production over the age, and they have some of the older guys up higher. We'll get into that. But most of the time, when we are starting our startup drafts, this is the one time where we can actually shape our team how we want. We can build a young core of players that can keep us in contention for years to come. So when you are drafting some of these running backs, don't forget that it is a short shelf life for most running backs in the NFL. You're lucky if you get 3 years out of a running back. So let's get right into it. Just do me a quick favor there. Smash that like, smash that subscribe if you're new. Let's go. All right. So I've got it broken down into 6 tiers here. And we'll start from the top and we'll work our way down. At number one, you've, of course, got Bijan Robinson here. Even though he hasn't played it down yet in the NFL, hasn't stepped foot on field, he is the Dynasty RB1. He's going in that back half of the first round. I've seen him go as high as the 1-9, but typically anywhere from like that 1-9 to that 2-4 range. Bijan Robinson is going in our Superflex startups. We know the generational prospect he is. Where he got taken in the NFL draft, there's a good chance that this guy finishes as a top 10 running back in his first season on a rush heavy offense. My RB2 also in tier one is going to be Breece Hall. But Breece Hall last year, before he got injured, was my Dynasty RB1, one of the few workhorse running backs in the NFL. My Dynasty RB3 is Jonathan Taylor. JT, we've seen what he can do, obviously, as the RB1 just a couple seasons ago, was injured last year, did not play well. The offense wasn't good at all either. They bring in Anthony Richardson. Does this help JT? Does this open up some lanes? Does it take away some touchdowns? You can look at it both ways here, but I think it's a good situation for JT where when they're running that run pass option, that's going to be very difficult to stop with a guy like Anthony Richardson at quarterback. I expect JT to get right back on track this year. Still young, 24 years old. My RB4 finishing off tier one here, and this could be controversial, but you guys let me know. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. Jahmyr Gibbs, RB4. I just can't see how I can put him any lower. I mean, the draft capital obviously was pick number 12 in the NFL draft, taking over that DeAndre Swift spot. And we saw that they wanted to give more work to DeAndre Swift, and his body just could not hold up. Gibbs is a similar prospect, a better prospect, but can catch the football really well, runs legit routes, can line up in the slot, and can also rush the football. So last year, DeAndre Swift played a little bit over 50% of the snaps. He had 70 targets. DeAndre Swift finishes as an RB2 with missing 3 games last year. In PPR, he was RB17 in fantasy points per game. So you get a healthy Jahmyr Gibbs in there that takes over the receiving role, should see at the least 70 targets. Plus, he should see more rushing because they're going to want to play him more than 50% of the snaps. They just couldn't play Swift more than that because he just could not hold up. I expect Gibbs to be that new school Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, where he's both rushing and receiving. And with his age, I just can't see how I can put him any lower here. Starting off tier number 2, my RB5 in Dynasty is going to be CMC. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but he's not taking a beating. He's not rushing the ball 20 plus times down the throat of the defense. They've got Elijah Mitchell there now, so I think he takes a lot of that front work, and CMC can just kind of be who he is. And with him not taking that beating up the gut, he's going to be able to last longer at peak production. RB6 is going to be Saquon. Found himself rejuvenated last year in a comeback season. Is not able to get a contract, turned down a 4-year contract of about 14 mil per year, if I'm not mistaken, because he wanted more. And that can definitely bite him in the ass because now they put the franchise tag on him. They're still trying to get a contract going with him, can't agree to one. But Saquon, a guy that can do it all, getting a little up there in age for a running back, but I've got him right behind CMC there as my RB6. My RB7 finishing off tier number 2 is going to be Josh Jacobs. saw him have the 2,000-yard season last season. I think that was a ceiling. I don't think he does that again, but he is one of the very few three-down workhorses in the NFL. And he's been an RB1 for the past 3 seasons. I know the offense is not looking good, but that's even more reason for them to just lean on him. He is on the tag, so that is a little worrisome. We don't know if he's going to wind up going somewhere else, but even if he does, I think he holds three-down workhorse value. And a lot of us, including myself, have been low on Josh Jacobs, and you just can't deny it anymore, with these last 3 seasons. I mean, even all 4 seasons he's been in the NFL, he's been not worse than an RB21 in PPR, and then 3 top 12 seasons after that rookie season. Jacobs rounds up that tier as we go into this next tier here. And this might be a little controversial as well because I'm a little bit higher on Najee Harris than some others. But Najee, I mean, one of the very few workhorse guys. I mean, we've seen what he did his rookie season. Last year had the foot injury with the horrible offensive line. Comes back second half of season after they take the metal piece out of his cleat or whatever it was, and wound up playing way better. And if you missed my video, go check out my video on Najee Harris, where I point out a few things on why I do like him. But Kenny Pickett should be better. They addressed the offensive line in the draft. They addressed tight end position, which essentially was just another offensive lineman in Darnell Washington. So I feel like the blocking is going to be better. Najee is going to be healthy, and we're going to see him, kind of return to form and be a top RB that we know he can be. I mean, Jalen Warren is a good player, but he's not going to take away touches from Najee Harris. And we saw that last year in the second half of the season. They were started giving Najee about 18 carries a game once they saw he was getting healthy. And another one I differ from a little bit in the community, I've got Javonte here, another workhorse guy, a 3-down back, can catch the football as well. Going into a Sean Payton offense now, and Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He knows what he has in Javonte. So I expect Javonte to, kill it in the seasons to come. Still a young guy. Now, the only issue really is this year because he's coming back from that gruesome injury. He's already on the practice field and apparently is going to be ready to go by week 1. But we'll see how that turns out because that would be a very quick turnaround for him. And typically, when these running backs have these kind of injuries, that first year back is tough. So I don't expect much for this particular season, but I still have him ranked as a top 10 guy because after this season, I think he'll be shooting up in value and up people's rankings. And this is a big tier we have here. After Javonte, my RB9, we have my RB10, which is Travis Etienne. And a lot of people have him up higher, which I did until the NFL draft, until they said, they want a committee. They don't want to give Etienne all the work. Now, I do still think he's going to get his 18, 20 touches a game. But the problem is now when bringing in Tank Bigsby, who I had ranked very high coming into the draft, is he going to take away the goal line work from Etienne? Is he going to have a big enough role in the offense that it affects Etienne's production? We saw last year Etienne, even though he was very productive, did not get the work in the passing game that we thought he was going to get or that he should have got. So if you're not catching passes out of the backfield and you're not getting the goal line carries, how high of a running back finish can you have with those two things taken into consideration? Now, maybe they have Tank Bigsby and he'll be the goal line back and he'll take away some first and second down carries. Now, maybe this year with them getting Tank Bigsby and being able to not put Etienne out there for every particular down, maybe he does get more pass work this year. Maybe they are giving him some more routes to run out of the backfield. We shall see what happens, but I just can't put him much higher than all of these other guys that are legit pretty much 3-down workhorses, except for Gibbs, of course, but we know he's going to be implemented into the pass game. So ETN, just a few red flags as of late, and I just feel more comfortable with Najee than I do with ETN. Even though the Jaguars' offense is going to be good, I just don't know how many goal line chances or touchdowns or catches he's going to be able to get. And it was tough ranking, him there because I wanted to move him up, past Javonte, past Najee, which you can definitely make the case for. You guys let me know, do you have ETN ahead of these guys or not? They're just all in this big tier for me. After ETN, we got my RB11, which is going to be Kenny Walker. And yes, they did get Charbonnet, which is why he's ranked this low. They did go out and spend a second round pick on Charbonnet. Kenny Walker wasn't the greatest pass catcher. Can he catch the football? Yes. He's a very good runner, but they got Charbonnet, I think, to catch the football in third down situations. So I think Kenny Walker is now stuck in that first and second down role. Now, does he get the carries down at the goal line? So he's not going to get the pass catching. Down at the goal line is still a question mark. More than that, Pete Carroll does not care about draft capital. We've seen this, with Chris Carson and some of the other guys that they've had over the last few years. He will give the ball to the hot hand. So if Charbonnet is hot and he's getting yardage, they're going to give him the football. And same thing with Kenny Walker. If Ken Walker is hot, they're going to give him the football. So being that the pass catching is now going to be gone, and the hot streak, whoever is going to be hotter is going to get the football for Pete Carroll. So that worries me as well. So I had to drop him down my rankings as well. Let me know what you guys think. Is this too low for Ken Walker? I just have trouble putting him higher above guys that are getting 3-down workhorse loads. My RB12 is going to be Nick Chubb. This guy just churns, top 10 season after top 10 season, and can't put him much lower than this. I mean, you can make the argument to even put him a little bit higher above ETN and Kenny Walker. But I think just the age difference, you kind of have to put these guys ahead. But Nick Chubb, a perfect, win now guy, that very quietly finished with 1,500 rushing yards last year and 12 touchdowns. Got just about 2 years left as his contract is up in 2024, but on a more improved offense with Deshaun Watson, who should look a lot better this year. I think Nick Chubb has a chance to finish as a top 3 running back this season, especially with no Kareem Hunt and not getting anybody else out there. He might see some pass catching work as well. RB13 after Nick Chubb is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. And we saw him last year just go off, just do it all, catching the football, rushing the football. Now, that wasn't by plan, obviously. I think that's one thing we, of course, have to remember. That wasn't by plan. That was just by situation, right? Damian Harris got injured. White got injured, the third down back. Ty Montgomery got injured, the other third down back. So that left only Stevenson there to do it all. And he definitely delivered. So he can be that workhorse guy. He can have that workhorse load. Now, will he? I don't know. It is a Bill Belichick offense. It is the New England Patriots. They never re-sign their running backs. Ramondre is good for the next 2 years, in which most likely they don't re-sign him. That's typically what the Patriots have done over the years. Maybe they change their mind. Maybe they do something different. But that's the reason why I've got to have him here in this slot after Nick Chubb, because I know Nick Chubb is getting 3-down workhorse load. Ramondre, as much as I love him, it's just hard to trust Bill Belichick. RB14 finishing off this tier is going to be my guy J.K. Dobbins in a Ravens offense that should be passing the ball more this year. And yes, passing the ball more, that doesn't mean they're not going to give the ball to J.K. Dobbins, but they're going to pass the ball more than they have in the past, which is fine. Lamar's going to run less, and them passing more is going to open up those lanes for J.K. Dobbins. We saw last year, he started going off towards the end of the year, hobbling on one foot, basically, coming back from that injury. So now, a year later, healthy now, we get to see a healthy J.K. Dobbins. And Gus Edwards is not a concern anymore. Gus Edwards took a pay cut to stay with the team. So that just goes to show you that they do believe in JK. And it looks like finally they're going to give JK the workhorse load, because I don't think he's ever had more than 15 carries in a game. Somebody stat check that. Let me know. But I think that changes this year. I think they do run the ball more with J.K. Dobbins. And I also think he might be catching the ball a little bit this year. I mean, he can catch. They just haven't gave him that work. So does he get some more pass catching opportunities this year? Are the lanes opened up for him? Is he 100% fully healthy on an offense that could be great this year? I really like J.K. Dobbins. Now, he is a free agent after this year, but I think that they will re-sign him if he does break out this year. Even if he doesn't, I think he can still be a number one guy on another team, or at least a first and second down guy. So that's why I've got him here after Ramondre Stevenson to end off this third tier. Now, starting tier 4, where's Tony Pollard? How come you don't have Tony Pollard up there? Tony Pollard starts off the tier as my RB15. And that's because Tony Pollard is on a 1-year deal. Do they re-sign him? Do they franchise him again next year? Do they replace him in the draft or free agency? And I know everybody loves Tony Pollard, but he is going to be a 27-year-old running back after the season. He's never had or handled the workhorse load before. Is he going to get the workhorse load this year? Possibly. We'll see how he holds up. He also is coming back from a pretty gruesome injury. You've got to take that into account as well. And I love Tony Pollard. I was all year last year, before even the season, I was, Tony Pollard season, all off season, going into the season. And I was very happy to see what he can do finishing RB7 in fantasy behind Zeke. But I think that's what worked so perfect for them is that Zeke was able to kind of soften up the defense, take those up the middle hits, and then you can bring in Tony Pollard as kind of that change of pace guy. And he was able to explode and stay healthy and stay fresh. So I really thought they were going to bring in a more prominent running back through the draft early on. They didn't wind up doing that. Then I thought maybe they're going to bring Zeke back, which is still a possibility. We'll see what they do. But as of right now, Tony Pollard is the only guy there, and I cannot put him any lower than this. I just couldn't fathom putting him any higher than this in my rankings. And let me know down there in the comments, is Tony Pollard too low? I just feel like I can't put him that much higher. It's debatable. You can maybe put him higher than J.K. Steve or Stevenson. I can't see putting him ahead of Chubb. I know Chubb has got at least 2 elite fantasy seasons left in him. Can't put him over the young guys and Kenny Walker and ETN. So it's just rough. And maybe I am too low on him. Maybe I should be higher. But I just have a hard time putting him over those guys, especially with his age and his contract situation that comes into play. My RB16 after Tony Pollard is going to be Austin Eckler on what could be his last year with the Chargers, which is worrisome, which is why he's got to go down here. He's also older in age, wanted a more long-term contract, could not find that elsewhere in the NFL, so wind up staying with the Chargers, taking some incentive money. But I mean, what, 20 touchdowns each almost the last 2 seasons? Very hard to accomplish. He's never had the amount of rushing touchdowns the past 2 seasons as he had ever in his NFL career. This year, of course, is not the issue. For this year, you can expect top 5, top 10 production at the running back position from Austin Eckler. But the problem is next year. The problem is going forward. Like, what is going to happen? Is he going to still be on the Chargers? Are they going to re-sign him? We already know they're not going to pay him what he wants to be paid. So does he go elsewhere? And if he does go elsewhere, no matter where he goes, it's automatically going to take a hit. Is he going to be getting the goal line work like he was the last 2 years so he can have double-digit rushing touchdowns? Is he going to be getting the passing work that he's had on a new team? Not to mention the 100 targets last year. No Mike Williams for a lot of those games. No Keenan Allen for a lot of those games. So not many options to throw the ball to, which is why I think Eckler had more than typical targets and catches last year. So I do think that takes a little bit of a hit this year. Not too much, but just a little bit. I don't think we see 100 targets again. But that's why we've got him here in the tier. Followed up by my RB17 in Dynasty is going to be Derrick Henry. Just kind of like Eckler, maybe there's a year left. Maybe there's a few more for Henry. I mean, we've been saying that for the past few years that he's going to be, slowing down and taking a hit soon, and he just hasn't. He's had just an insane amount of carries the past few years. So that time will come one day. Now, the offense is not very good. And you could argue that it's been like that for the past few years. But if they're giving Derrick Henry 30 carries a game, I mean, he's going to rumble. But again, how long is that going to hold up? You've got at least one, hopefully, maybe more than one season of Derrick Henry elite production left. And that's why he's here in this tier 4, rounding off this tier 4. You've got starting off now in tier 5, you've got Miles Sanders, who gets the contract from the Panthers. It looks like he might be the 3-down back over there. Hasn't been catching the football lately the past few years with the Eagles. He did in year 1, but not since then. So do the Panthers give him, this passing workload as well? They've only got Chuba Hubbard there. They didn't get anybody in the draft. They didn't pick up anybody. But this is an offense that might not be very good. We shall see. But he is going to get the work, and he did get the contract. So that's why I have him here. You could argue to put him up in this tier beforehand. I just feel like his production is not going to be up to par with those guys. RB19 is going to be Dameon Pierce, my Dynasty RB19. Not get hurt in the draft. They did not draft anybody significant. They did bring over Devin Singletary, which I don't think is a crazy threat. I do think Dameon Pierce is better than him. But is he going to get the 3-down workload on an offense that might not be that good. Same kind of situation with the rookie quarterback over in Carolina with Miles Sanders. Damian Pierce, a guy that didn't really get the draft capital to feel safe about. So he is a guy that could be replaced. But being that they didn't do that, he's at least there now again to have another year to prove himself and be that RB1 going forward for the Texans. My dynasty RB20 is going to be Rashard White of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not great runner between the tackles, but one of the better pass catching backs that ever came out. And in OTAs, he's saying he's getting a ton of pass work, which I believe. I mean, you've got Baker Mayfield over there now. And last year with Baker Mayfield, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, those first 5 games, he had like 35 targets, 25 catches. Baker Mayfield is a guy that does love the running back to throw to. He checks it down a lot. Not saying that Rashard White is CMC, just saying that if Baker Mayfield is the starting QB, he is a guy that will check it down to Rashard White a ton, which can be valuable in PPR, especially if they're down in games, which they probably will be because they just don't have a great team to begin with. RB21 finishing off tier 5 is going to be Joe Mixon. I know a lot of people have been off of Joe Mixon. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, with the law, if, that's going to be an issue or not. It doesn't seem like it's going to be, whatever incidents that he did have. The Bengals did go out and draft Chase Brown in the 5th round. They didn't go out and get an early running back. Joe Mixon is under contract for the next 2 years, so he's good till 2024. And being everything that's going on, no NFL team really wants to go and trade for Joe Mixon. So he's kind of just stuck there. Now he wasn't efficient last year and he played pretty badly the whole season. Had one huge breakout, like 50-point game. But he is the workhorse guy. He is getting the passing work. He is getting the rushing work. Had only 100-yard rushing game. Did wind up finishing RB10 in PPR thanks to that huge week he had. But I just don't see a situation where they're able to move off of Joe Mixon. I don't think any team is going out there to get him. And again, he's kind of stuck there now for those next 2 years. Does Chase Brown start to dig in and take some work? Maybe. I do like Chase Brown a lot, but for now, it's Joe Mixon. He's the guy that's there. He's the guy that's going to get the football. The Bengals have came out and said, they do believe in Joe Mixon. They're behind him. So Dynasty RB21 finishing off that number 5 tier. And I know I said 24. I guess we're doing 26. But you've got Charbonnet leading off this tier. Elite rookie was the RB3 coming in. Goes to a Seattle team now in the 2nd round. So he's got the draft capital. He's going to be the pass catching guy. If he's heating up, Pete Carroll will give him the football. After Charbonnet, I got my boy Gibby at RB23. Gibby, a wide receiver coming out of college, transferred over to running back in the NFL, had 2 top 13 seasons at the running back position. Now he's being featured in the pass game a lot more. No J.D. McKissick. You've got Eric Bieniemy that came over from the Chiefs, and we've seen what he can do with the backfield as far as the pass catchers like Jerick McKinnon. So I expect Gibby to do it all this year. I expect him to take some carries. I expect him to catch the ball a ton. It's Gibby season for me, and I love me some Antonio Gibson as my Dynasty RB23. My Dynasty RB24 is going to be Kendre Miller. Love some Kendre Miller. Love the landing spot. You've got Alvin Kamara, who's most likely going to be suspended. I don't see any way where they don't suspend him for at least 4 to 6 games. That's going to leave Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams. They've got Jamal Williams here in camp and OTAs catching a ton of passes. So it looks like he could possibly be the 3rd down guy. And then you've got Kendre Miller on 1st and 2nd down. So we'll see how that shakes up, and we'll see what happens with Alvin Kamara. But Kendre Miller has a chance to be the future for the New Orleans Saints. We'll see how it shakes out. RB25 is going to be Roshan Johnson. Same kind of situation like Kendre, where it might take a year or 2 for him to totally take over, but the opportunity is there. There's only Donta Foreman in front of him and Khalil Herbert. I think Roshan is better than both of those guys. So we'll see how that shakes out there for the Bears. And we'll follow that up, RB26 here with Devon Achane going to the Miami Dolphins. Perfect situation for Achane with his speed. The problem is, are they going to give him 3 down work? Is he going to be just a pass catching down guy? You do still have Mostert. You do still have Wilson. They are older guys, but both of those guys last year had less than 200 carries. We know how McDaniels likes to run his running backs. It's always a committee of guys trying to stay fresh, trying to stay healthy. Both Mostert and Wilson particularly stayed healthy last year because of the reduced workload and sharing it. So although A-Chain had a 3-down workload in college, this is not college, this is the NFL. And the NFL views you how the NFL views you. And I don't know if that offense, if the Dolphins, the coaching staff, the GMs, if they see A-Chain as that 3-down guy, getting 15, 20 touches a game. And the good thing about A-Chain in that situation is that he doesn't need a ton of touches to produce some fantasy points in that offense. I just think he's going to have some boom weeks and he's going to have bust weeks. And I just don't know how many touches he's going to get a game. But that's how I got it shaken up here. Top 26 here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about my Dynasty running back rankings. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And before y'all get out of here, you know the drill. Smash that like, smash that subscribe if you're new. See y'all on the next one.